Love doesn't simply vanish overnight. It lingers in the mind, in the heart, in the quiet moments when everything seems still. Yet emotions still whisper reminders of what once was. The connection you shared, the late night conversations, the laughter, the dreams you built together. It all still feels present, even when the relationship has ended. And if he still loves you after the breakup, it's easy to let that knowledge pull you back into the past. But the truth is, just because love remains doesn't mean the relationship should. When you find yourself aware that he still loves you, your mind can play tricks on you. It begins to question everything. Does this mean we are meant to be? Should I reach out? Will he come back? These thoughts can create an emotional loop that keeps you tethered to something that no longer serves you. The problem is, focusing on his emotions does nothing to elevate you. It does nothing to move your life forward. What you must understand is that love alone does not create a future. Growth does. Heartbreak, no matter how painful, is not just an end. It is an opportunity. It is energy in its rawest form, and what you do with that energy determines your future. If you choose to sit in the pain, replay the memories, and dwell on the what-ifs, then that energy consumes you, draining you of your power, your confidence, and your ability to move forward. But if you take that energy and redirect it into self-mastery, into becoming stronger, wiser, and more in tune with yourself, then you take that heartbreak and turn it into fuel for your transformation. Think about this. Every emotion you experience is energy in motion. When you feel sad, that sadness is energy that needs an outlet. When you feel anger, it's an energy that can either destroy you or be redirected towards something productive. Love, pain, regret, these are all forms of emotional energy, and they don't just disappear. They transform based on how you handle them. If you don't consciously choose to redirect that energy into something that builds you, it will naturally sink into something that weakens you. One of the biggest mistakes people make after a breakup is assuming that time alone will heal them. Time does not heal. Intention does. If you sit around waiting for the pain to go away on its own, all you are doing is allowing it to settle deeper. Instead of passively waiting, you must actively take control of your energy. You must take that emotional force and channel it into something that makes you better than you were before. This is why you cannot waste time wondering what he's thinking, whether he's missing you, whether he's regretting his choices. That mental space belongs to you, not him. Every moment spent analyzing his feelings is a moment lost in strengthening your own. If he still loves you, that's his burden to carry, not yours. If he still thinks about you, that is his journey, not yours. But your journey is to take this experience and evolve, to use the emotional energy of heartbreak and turn it into something powerful. When you direct your energy into something productive, whether it's self-development, fitness, a new passion, or simply deepening your understanding of who you are, you begin to see that heartbreak was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to shape you. People often believe that pain is a signal to stop, to slow down, to retreat. But pain is actually a signal to move, to transform, to shift. The only difference between those who rise and those who remain stuck is how they handle that pain. How they handle that pain. And here's the thing, when you shift your energy into self-improvement, everything around you begins to shift too. The more you focus on your growth, the less power your past has over you. The more you pour into your personal evolution, the less attached you feel to what was. And that's when something incredible happens. You begin to elevate beyond the level you were at when you were with him. You start to see things differently. You start to feel differently. You stop waiting, you stop wondering, you stop hoping, and you start living. It's a simple but powerful truth. The more energy you invest in becoming your best self, the less you care about who still loves you. Not because love isn't real, but because you finally realize you are the source of the love you seek. Attachment to the past is one of the most powerful chains that can hold a person back. It creates an illusion that what was lost must somehow be regained in order to feel whole again. But the truth is, no matter how deeply you cared, no matter how strong the connection was, if something ended, there was a reason for it. And yet the mind plays tricks on you. It convinces you that maybe, just maybe, if you analyze the situation enough, if you wait long enough, if you hold on just a little tighter, things will change. This illusion keeps so many people trapped in a cycle of longing, regret, and stagnation. The reason people struggle after a breakup is because they are still attached to an outcome that no longer serves them. They don't just miss the person, they miss the vision they had of the future. They struggle to let go, not just of the relationship, but of the story they created in their minds, the future they thought they were building. When that vision gets shattered, it's not just the person they grieve, it's the life they thought they were going to have. That's why moving on feels so difficult. It requires dismantling a belief, not just a relationship. When you attach yourself to an outcome, you give away your power. You become a prisoner to what could have been, rather than embracing what is. You constantly look for signs, for reasons to hold on, for hope that somehow the past will rewrite itself in your favor. But life doesn't work like that. The more you cling to something that is no longer aligned with your future, the more you prevent yourself from stepping into something greater. People mistakenly believe that if they hold on long enough, if they just keep believing, things will return to how they once were. But the past is gone. Even if the person came back, the dynamic would not be the same. Because you are not the same. Growth means accepting that some things are meant to end, not because they weren't real, but because they have served their purpose in your journey. The problem is most people resist this truth because letting go feels like surrendering control. What they fail to see is that real control comes from releasing what no longer aligns with them. The more you detach from expectations, the more power you regain over your life. Instead of waiting for closure, for apologies, for signs, for explanations, you create your own closure by refusing to allow something outside of you to dictate your peace. That is true freedom, the ability to move forward without needing validation from the past. When you remain attached, you give the other person power over your emotions, even in their absence. You let their choices dictate your mood. You let their actions or lack of actions define your worth. But the moment you decide that your well-being is not dependent on their presence, you take that power back. You shift from waiting to living. You shift from hoping to creating. And that is when everything changes. Most people try to fill the void of a breakup by looking for distractions or numbing their emotions with external pleasures. But these are temporary fixes. True healing begins when you stop looking outward and start looking inward. When you detach from the idea that you need someone else to complete you, you begin to realize that everything you were seeking was within you all along. You don't move forward by trying to erase the past. You move forward by accepting that the past was part of your journey, but not the destination. You move forward by focusing on who you are becoming, rather than who you used to be. Every time you redirect your energy away from the past and toward your own growth, you weaken the grip that attachment has over you. You stop feeling like you've lost something and start realizing that you've gained something. Wisdom, strength, clarity, and a deeper connection to yourself. Emotions have an undeniable power over the human mind. They shape perspectives, influence decisions, and dictate actions. After a breakup, emotions become intensified, unpredictable, and often overwhelming. One moment, there's a sense of peace and acceptance of the situation, a belief that moving forward is possible. The next moment, a single memory, a song, or even a place can trigger a wave of sadness, nostalgia, or longing that feels impossible to control. The mind begins to wander, imagining scenarios, replaying conversations, and questioning everything. Did I make a mistake? Will he realize what he lost? Does he still think about me? The uncertainty fuels a cycle of emotional highs and lows, creating an invisible weight that lingers in daily life. When emotions are left unchecked, they dictate reality. They create illusions that cloud judgment, making it difficult to see things as they truly are. The danger of allowing emotions to control thoughts is that they operate on reaction rather than truth. The mind becomes a battlefield between logic and feeling, between what is known and what is wished for. The stronger the emotional attachment, the harder it becomes to separate reality from perception. The past starts looking better than it was. The flaws in relationship begin to fade, replaced by idealized memories of the good times, the difficult moments, the pain, the unresolved issues, those are pushed to the background, making it easy to believe that the relationship was perfect, that the love was too strong to let go. But this is the deception of emotions. They create a version of events that serves what the heart wants to believe rather than what actually happened. And when this illusion takes over, it becomes almost impossible to move forward. The problem isn't feeling emotions. It's letting them dictate the future. Feelings are real, but they are not always truthful. Just because something feels right in the moment doesn't mean it is right in the long run. The mind, when ruled by emotions, will seek comfort rather than growth. It will crave familiarity, even if that familiarity was painful. It will resist change, even if that change is necessary. And this is why so many people remain stuck after a breakup, not because they cannot move on, but because their emotions keep pulling them backward. It is critical to take control of the mind and recognize when emotions are creating illusions. The first step is awareness. Understanding that just because something feels a certain way doesn't mean it is true. A longing for the past doesn't mean the past was meant to be the future. Missing someone doesn't mean they were right for you. Love still existing doesn't mean it should lead to reconciliation. Emotions are temporary. Decisions based on emotions, however, can have long-lasting consequences. People who master their emotions master their lives. They do not suppress their feelings, but they also do not allow their feelings to control them. They acknowledge pain without letting it dictate their actions. They observe their thoughts without letting those thoughts turn into self-sabotage. They understand that just because something hurts doesn't mean it should be pursued. The ability to separate feeling from action is what determines whether someone remains stuck in heartbreak or rises above it. The more power emotions are given, the more they take over. They begin to define identity, shaping thoughts like, "I will never love again," or "I am not good enough," or "I was happiest with him." These thoughts, repeated often enough, become beliefs, and once something becomes a belief, it is no longer questioned. It becomes a truth that shapes every future action. This is why it is so important to take control of emotions before they turn into limiting beliefs. One of the most effective ways to regain control is through logic and reflection. Writing things down, seeing the facts on paper, analyzing situations from a place of reason rather than emotion. This is how clarity is achieved. Instead of asking, "Do I still love him?" the question should be, "Did this relationship align with my highest self?" Instead of thinking, "I miss what we had," the focus should be, "What did I learn and how can I grow from it?" Shifting the narrative from longing to learning transforms the experience from loss to empowerment. When emotions are observed rather than obeyed, they lose their ability to control outcomes. They still exist, but they no longer dictate direction. The moment emotions are put into perspective, they become a tool rather than a master. And when this shift happens, moving forward is no longer a struggle, it becomes a choice. Memories have a way of playing tricks on the mind, especially after a breakup. They resurface in unexpected moments, sometimes bringing comfort, sometimes causing pain. The mind clings to them, revisiting conversations, reliving moments, analyzing every detail in an attempt to understand what went wrong. This constant replaying of the past creates an illusion, one that convinces a person that they are still connected to someone who is no longer present. The emotions attached to these memories make them feel as though they are happening in real time, pulling the heart back into a reality that no longer exists. The stronger the emotional connection, the more vivid the memories become. They act like anchors, preventing forward movement, keeping the mind stuck in a cycle of nostalgia and longing. A song, a familiar scent, a place once visited together. All these things trigger a flood of emotions, making it feel as though the person is still present, as if their energy still lingers in the air. This emotional attachment to the past creates an illusion of unfinished business, leading to the belief that the story isn't truly over. But here's the truth. The past is a closed chapter. It exists only in the mind. It cannot be changed, rewritten, or relived. The only thing that can be controlled is the perception of it. When the mind romanticizes the past, it highlights the best moments and downplays the painful ones. It creates a version of events that feels comforting even if it is not the full truth. This is why so many people struggle to move on, not because they are still in love with the person, but because they are in love with the memories. They are attached to the version of the relationship they have created in their minds rather than the reality of what it actually was. This emotional illusion is what keeps people stuck. It fuels false hope, leading to thoughts like, maybe he will come back, maybe he still loves me, maybe we were meant to be. The brain begins to look for signs, interpreting small, insignificant actions as proof that the connection is still there. A like on social media, a mutual friend mentioning his name, an old text message resurfacing. Each of these things becomes fuel for the illusion, reinforcing the belief that the bond still exists. But emotions are not proof of reality. Just because something is felt deeply does not mean it is meant to last. The mind's tendency to hold on to the past is a form of self-protection. It fears change, it resists the unknown, and it clings to what feels familiar. But holding on to something that no longer exists only creates suffering. The longer a person stays emotionally connected to a past relationship, the longer they delay their own growth. The key to breaking free from this illusion is to recognize memories for what they truly are, snapshots of the past, not blueprints for the future. They are pieces of a journey, not a destination. The mind must be trained to see them objectively rather than emotionally. Instead of reliving them with longing, they must be examined with clarity. What did I learn from this experience? How did this relationship shape me? What patterns can I recognize that I need to break? These are the questions that shift the focus from regret to self-awareness. Memories should serve as lessons, not chains. They should provide wisdom, not longing. Every experience carries a message, but that message must be understood in order for growth to occur. Instead of being trapped in the illusion of what was, the mind must be directed toward what is and what can be. This requires conscious effort, a deliberate decision to break free from emotional attachment and redirect energy toward the present. It is a process, one that requires discipline and awareness. But the moment a person stops seeing the past as something to hold on to and starts viewing it as something to learn from, everything changes. The weight of nostalgia begins to fade, and clarity takes its place. The heart no longer aches for what was lost because it begins to recognize what was gained. The mind no longer searches for signs from the past because it is too focused on building a future. The illusion of emotional attachment dissolves, revealing the truth that the only thing keeping the past alive is the energy given to it. Self-worth is one of the most fragile yet powerful aspects of a person's identity. It dictates how people see themselves, how they allow others to treat them, and how they navigate relationships. After a breakup, self-worth often takes a direct hit. Questions arise. Was I not enough? Did I do something wrong? Why wasn't I chosen? These thoughts create an emotional storm where confidence is replaced by self-doubt and self-assurance is replaced by insecurity. The mind becomes consumed with the idea that something must be wrong with the person who was left behind. This erosion of self-worth happens subtly. It starts with small thoughts, comparing oneself to others, overanalyzing every flaw, replaying moments that could have gone differently. The more these thoughts are entertained, the more powerful they become, turning into beliefs. And once a belief is formed, it begins to shape reality. A person who believes they weren't good enough will start acting as if they truly weren't. They will shrink themselves, lower their standards, and settle for less simply because they have convinced themselves that they are unworthy of more. The truth is, no breakup defines a person's worth. No failed relationship determines value. The way another person chooses to treat someone is a reflection of them, not of the person being left behind. But in the emotional chaos of heartbreak, this truth is hard to accept. It's easier to place the blame inward, to assume that if only something had been different, if only they had been more attractive, more successful, more interesting, the outcome would have changed. But self-worth isn't conditional. It isn't something that should fluctuate based on how another person perceives it. The mistake most people make after a breakup is seeking validation externally They look for reassurance in all the wrong places. Through social media, through new relationships, through seeking closure from the person who walked away. But self-worth cannot be found outside of oneself. It cannot be restored by another person's words or actions. It must come from within. The moment a person places their value in someone else's hands, they give away their power. They allow someone else to dictate their confidence, their happiness, and their self-respect. Rebuilding self-worth after a breakup requires an internal shift. It requires redefining identity, not as someone who was left behind, but as someone who is growing, evolving, and stepping into a new version of themselves. Instead of focusing on what was lost, the focus must be on what is being gained. Strength, resilience, and clarity. Instead of dwelling on what could have been, the energy must be directed toward becoming someone who doesn't need external validation to feel whole. One of the most powerful ways to rebuild self-worth is through self-discipline. When a person proves to themselves that they can commit to their own growth, confidence naturally follows. Whether it's physical discipline, exercising, eating well, taking care of the body, or mental discipline, reading, learning, setting goals, every small act of self-care strengthens self-esteem. When the focus is placed on becoming the best version of oneself, the opinions and actions of others lose their grip. Another important aspect of reclaiming self-worth is setting boundaries. A person with strong self-esteem does not chase after someone who walked away. They do not beg for attention, nor do they seek validation from those who no longer value them. They recognize their own worth and understand that anyone who cannot see it is simply not meant to be part of their journey. This mindset shift is not about arrogance. It's about self-respect. It's about recognizing that love should be a two-way street, not a pursuit where one person is constantly proving their value. The process of rebuilding self-worth is not easy. There will be moments of doubt, moments of weakness, moments where the past calls louder than the future. But every time a person chooses to put themselves first, every time they choose growth over regret, self-respect over desperation, and progress over nostalgia, they reclaim a piece of their power. They remind themselves that their worth was never in question, that they were never lacking, and that the end of a relationship is not the end of their value. It is simply a redirection towards something greater. The power of focusing forward is one of the most underestimated forces in life. When a person keeps their eyes on the past, they become stuck in a cycle of longing, regret, and what ifs. Their energy is drained by memories of what used to be, rather than being directed toward what can be. The past has a way of pulling people back into a version of themselves that no longer serves them, making it difficult to embrace the opportunities that lie ahead. A breakup has a way of distorting reality, making it feel as though happiness, love, and fulfillment were tied to that one relationship, that one person. But this illusion only exists in the mind. And the moment a person chooses to look ahead instead of behind, everything begins to shift. Growth cannot happen while staring in the rearview mirror. A person cannot step into their next chapter if they are constantly rereading the last one. The future is waiting, but it cannot be reached if all the attention is given to the past. The more time spent thinking about the breakup, the more power is given to it. The more energy invested in analyzing what went wrong, the less energy is available to create what can go right. What people fail to realize is that the same emotional energy used to grieve a past relationship can be used to build a new life. The pain that feels unbearable can be transformed into fuel. The loss that feels overwhelming can be turned into motivation. But this only happens when a conscious decision is made to stop looking back and start looking forward. Most people don't move on because they don't give themselves permission to. They stay trapped in the past, either because they are afraid of what the future holds or because they secretly hope things will go back to the way they were. But holding on to something that is already gone only prolongs the suffering. The moment a person accepts that the past cannot be changed, they free themselves. The moment they realize that their future is still in their hands, they take their power back. Moving forward isn't about forgetting the past. It's about choosing not to let it define the present. It's about refusing to let yesterday's pain control today's potential. Redirecting focus toward the future is not about distraction. It's about transformation. It's about channeling pain into purpose. Every setback carries an opportunity for growth. But that opportunity can only be accessed when the mind shifts from dwelling. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? The question should become, what can I learn from this? How can I use this experience to become better, stronger, wiser? This shift in mindset is what separates those who remain stuck from those who rise. One of the most powerful ways to move forward is by setting new goals. When a person gives themselves something to strive toward, they naturally start shifting their energy. They begin investing in themselves, in their dreams, and their future. They stop focusing on what was lost and start focusing on what can be gained. Whether it's personal development, career ambitions, fitness goals, or new experiences, every step forward reinforces the idea that life did not end with the breakup. It simply evolved. Another critical step in moving forward is surrounding oneself with the right influences. The environment plays a massive role in shaping mindset. Being around people who encourage growth, who inspire progress, who uplift and support can make all the difference. Conversely, staying in an environment that constantly reminds of the past, whether through conversations, social media, or old routines, only makes it harder to break free. The company kept either strengthens or weakens the ability to move forward. Choosing wisely is essential. Letting go of the past also requires a shift in self-identity. Many people unknowingly define themselves by their relationships. When a relationship ends, they feel lost, as if they no longer know who they are outside of that connection. But identity should never be dependent on another person. It should be rooted in personal values, ambitions, and beliefs. The key to moving forward is rediscovering oneself not as someone's partner, but as an individual with a unique purpose, talents, and potential. The future is not something that happens by chance. It is something that is created. It is shaped by decisions, by actions, by the willingness to release what no longer serves and embrace what is yet to come. The pain of a breakup can either become a prison or a launch pad, and the choice between the two lies entirely in the direction of focus. The moment a person stops looking back, they give themselves the gift of forward momentum. They step into a new reality, one where they are not bound by what was, but empowered by what can be.